Hey, how's it going my super friends? I am Emo Acebo, thanks for watching the vid. I am in my station, man. I'm making videos for a few days. I'm gonna be making reviews for this week's comics. I'm gonna be making Star Wars videos, a lot of cool stuff, and I'm gonna be releasing them throughout the week. This is my review for Doomsday Clock number 2, full with spoilers. Really quick, if you're new to the channel and you like Marvel, DC, and Star Wars, man, subscribe. I talk about comics a lot. I talk about video games, movies, TV shows, everything fun out there regarding superheroes and Star Wars. Click on the little bell icon so you get notifications and never miss my videos. So man, Geoff Johns, Gary Frank, two of the best creators in the business. They made Shazam and Batman Earth 1. They got Brad Anderson as a colorist. Issue number 2 gets so much better than issue number 1 in my opinion. There were so many hints, so many teases that it was just a big ass setup in issue number 1. This issue number 2 just picks up the pace so good, so much. We finally get to see the Watchmen characters meet some DC characters with explosive results. There is a lot of plot progression, and by the end of the issue, new dynamic relationships are formed and a clearly different story is taking place. The last issue felt like a direct sequel to Watchmen that just so happened to have a blip of Superman. This issue satisfied my expectations before closing out with this badass cliffhanger of the comedian. Shit, man, the comedian is back. And it's a really entertaining comic regardless of whether you disagree or not with Watchmen characters interacting with DC characters like Batman, Lex Luthor, Superman. So yeah, it's pretty fun. In this installment of Doomsday Clock, Ozymandias, Rorschach, Marionette, and the Mime make it out of the Watchmen corner of the multiverse just in time and arrive on Earth Zero, the universe where most mainline continuity DC comics take place. There, they split up in search of aid from the DCU's two smartest residents. Both Rorschach and Ozymandias find a lot more than they expected. And I find it really unfair to judge this work by the standard set of another, like art should be measured on its own terms, but Doomsday Clock is so similar to Watchmen. I mean, it's not just that it's the first direct sequel, but every aspect of the work itself is intended to evoke Watchmen, from the use of the 9-panel grids and the muted brown, yellow, gray color palette to the world-expanding prose back matter that concludes each issue. We're getting these articles written by Lois Lane and some other people just talking about what's going on in that universe, the Superman theory and all of that. It's so similar to Watchmen. But taking a step back and judging this on the terms it's asking to be judged on as more Watchmen, it's lacking. But the book is at its best when it's not trying its hardest to be Watchmen and falling a bit short. The parts that are focused on the DC universe, and there are a lot of parts in this first issue, are really top-notch. We get the first taste of the DCU responding to Watchmen. Lex Luthor and Ozymandias, the two smartest people from the respective Earths, are talking and discussing point of views and strategies and shit. It's super interesting. And there's also a lot to like in the Watchmen focused portions of the book. The first half of the book focuses on Marionette and Mime breaking into this bank, and it's suggested that the bank may have some important clients to Ozymandias' plan, and they use this, like I said, the 9-page sequence with a lot of time devoted to Marionette and Mime in the bank. And I loved how Frank and Geoff Johns told this story, this part. We get the 9-panel layout with the occasional bigger panel to draw our eye and make us laugh or gasp. There's this really cool sense of danger that makes it interesting, keeps you interested, while Johns tips us with the whole point of the matter. I suggest you read this thing twice, because there's so many things, there are a lot of little hints here or there, never making like a huge deal of it, but it's really cool to be on the hunt for these Easter eggs, if you will. It's also worth noting that this series is taking place in canon a full year from now, so if you want to gather an idea of where Batman will be, just read the issue. The Batman and Rorschach stuff was amazing, really cool, really dry humor, and it's the humor I love, Batman humor that you ate my breakfast. Man, I can't imagine how much longer it takes to draw a series like this over a conventional superhero book, because even the most unimportant looking panel may have huge significance. Really enjoy this issue number 2, I love that the pace is just picking up, but yeah, there's some negatives, there's a lot of questions, a lot of teases, and let me tell you the negatives. There's a little problem with the editing, I think. There's a brief scene with Marionette, she's angry, and then they reveal something about her, the kid, then we cut to the photograph, right? So the way this scene progresses is really confusing, like where is the picture from? The significance is the important part, which I think is obvious, but it still had me flipping back and forth to understand where it came from. I don't know. What is the Superman theory? I mean, why does Ozymandias need Marionette and the Mime? It's a lot of questions also. And the second biggest negative for me was how much little focus Johns put on the technology that sends the Watchmen characters to the DCU. And yes, Ozymandias is a super genius, but man, we're just like assuming he could fashion an interdimensional transport because he just wills it. It's just really convenient to the plot. Just a little more focus, man, on this. It could have been boring, sure, but I wanted this huge plot element to have more meaning and gravity. That said, this is an excellent book. Even if you remove your understanding of Watchmen, the visual storytelling across each page is really riveting and amazing character acting requiring no dialogue at all. This is the kind of comic you'll read over and over just to understand the layers of meaning and clues, hints, and also bridges two worlds. Progresses the plot satisfyingly, and I just loved it. Thanks for watching my review of Doomsday Clock number 2. I am Memo Acebo. If you enjoyed, please click the like button. Tell me in the comments down below your review of the issue. What do you think of it? Did you like it or not? Check out my other comic book reviews in the channel. I'm making comic quickies, reading a bunch of comics, making my rapid fire reviews. I'm gonna be uploading that later. Star Wars content coming your way also. Subscribe to see more, man. And of course, I'll see you in the next one.